You found the place where leisure travel, highways, and road trips are always the topic, where there's never a dull moment on the highways and byways of America, discussing topics on the minds of today's leisure travelers and talking with travel experts from across America. This is Road Trip Radio, the travel show for the common man. Call 646-915-8095 to join the conversation and make your voice heard. And now, live from our studio, here's the host of Road Trip Radio, Jeremy Krug.
Welcome, everybody, to our second season of Road Trip Radio. This is the travel show for the common man, where we discuss the travel topics that affect you. Now, we are kind of unique on the internet. We give you a little blend of travel and some comedy and fun. And if this is your first time tuning into our show, then welcome aboard. And I guess I should also extend our apologies in advance for the things that you're about to hear. My name is Jeremy Krug, and I'm joined by my co-host Dave Godar.
That's Dave Hopalong Cassidy Godar.
Oh, really? I guess we'll find out why you call yourself that later in the hour.
We are going to find out.
We are. Now, Dave, it's been a cold December, and I know it's been a little tough to travel in much of the country over the last several weeks. We've been off the air for about 4 or 5 weeks, and since we aired our last show...
Well, wait a minute. You've been off the air for about 4 or 5 weeks. But does that mean that I've been off the air?
You've taken a little extended vacation, I know.
Have you? There's some broadcasts out there that you may not be aware of. You might want to check out.
Oh, okay, somewhere hidden on the internet. I just thought you were on vacation, but
no, I was doing my other show.
Oh, okay.
Anti-Road Trip Radio.
Well, I know that there's been a lot going on over the last month or so. We've had ice storms and snowstorms and blizzards and tornadoes too. Almost too much to cover in a brief 1 hour radio show here. I've been on the road myself, trying to get out of the cold weather for a few days, gathering material, or perhaps we shall say gathering fuel for the fire, which is Road Trip Radio.
Is it really?
This show is on fire, I guess.
This show should be put on fire. Somebody needs to strike a match.
Well, either way you look at it, we're going to have a lot of fun today. I hope to take your calls later in the show, so if you would like to, go ahead and dial 646-915-8095 and be a part of our season opener for the second season. Maybe you're on the road or just want to talk about where you've been. Well, this is the place to do it. So, Dave, are you ready for today's show?
I'm ready to radio.
All right, I'm ready to radio too. Well, then let's put this show into gear and get it started.
Let's talk about a place called Road Trip Radio. Jeremy and Dave are the hosts of the show. They'll talk about the places you might like to go. So tune in to their Road Trip Radio. Here we go.
Well, what'd you think of our little intro there? We had some Arthur Holt.
I love it. I think it's perfect.
That was a great song. I enjoyed Arthur's rendition of the Road Trip Radio song. Well, in our Along the Way segment this week, we're going to get right into that. We're heading up to the Arizona Strip. Now, does that sound like something you would want to eat, Dave, like the New York Strip? Or?
Well, it does, actually. I wouldn't mind having a little Arizona Strip steak. How do you make that?
Well, as it turns out, the Arizona Strip is not a steak. It's actually a part of Arizona. It's north of the Grand Canyon. It's a very sparsely populated part of that state, and we're going to get right into that and talk about the Arizona Strip.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop listening now because it's not a steak. You go ahead with the show.
Okay. If you're going west or in the direction of the Grand Canyon, there's a good chance you'll be close to the Arizona Strip, and that's our destination for this week's Along the Way segment. One of America's most unusual yet remote places is the Arizona Strip, the ribbon of land in Arizona that lies to the north of the Grand Canyon. Since the Grand Canyon is as many as 18 miles wide, there is no bridge that crosses the canyon. As a result, The Arizona Strip is culturally and geographically isolated from the rest of the state and the rest of the country. Although it's larger than Massachusetts in area, it has a population of just 8,000, and 5,000 of them live in the town of Colorado City, right on the Utah border. More about that town a bit later. Most people that drive through the Arizona Strip pass through its northwest corner on Interstate 15, traveling between Las Vegas and Salt Lake City. The main attraction on this short stretch of interstate is the Virgin River Gorge. This gorge is basically a canyon 2,000 feet deep and at times as little as 20 feet wide that's been carved out by the Virgin River. This beautiful stretch of freeway is one of the most expensive yet majestic parts of the interstate system. Back when it was built in the 1970s, it reportedly cost over $100 an inch to excavate and build I-15 through the gorge. As you whiz through the canyon at high speed, you'll be able to see the limestone crags towering straight above your head, more than 500 feet straight above you. If you're feeling brave, take the Cedar Pockets exit to explore the gorge at a slower pace. In addition to being a scenic drive, it's also popular with hikers and campers. Now, once you're through the canyon, Interstate 15 sneaks into Utah near the town of St. George. From here, get off the interstate at exit 16 in St. George. If you don't have at least a half tank of gas, make sure you fill up, because fuel services through the eastern half of the Arizona Strip will be few and far between. At the little town of Hurricane, Utah, follow Highway 59 up the steep mountain and then through the hamlet of Apple Valley on your way back into northern Arizona. The highway re-enters the Grand Canyon State at the town of Colorado City. With 5,000 residents, which is most of the population of the whole Arizona Strip, you'd think this would be a place where you'd find a few gas stations, maybe a few restaurants and other services catering to the weary traveler. Well, you'd be wrong. There is absolutely nothing here that invites the passing traveler. Not a McDonald's, not a motel, not even a campground. Nothing. That's because Colorado City is one of, if not the most, insular towns in the United States. It's a town that's run by polygamists. That's right. Members of the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints have set up shop here and essentially own the town. Large, unfinished houses are found all over the dusty community, inhabited by the adherents of plural marriage. The biggest controversy here has involved men allowing their underage daughters, some of them barely teenagers, to be married off to men 2 or 3 times their age. If you drive into the town, there's a good chance you'll be followed around by men in pickup trucks with darkened windows. Not exactly the most welcoming town. But don't worry, if you just pass through here on the highway, you won't have a problem because the town itself sits a little bit off the road. Members of the sect are prohibited from owning computers, televisions, or even newspapers. As a result, there's not really much here to welcome travelers other than a passing curiosity for what this town holds locked inside. Well, continuing down Highway 389, the high desert road curves around to the town of Fredonia. Originally inhabited by the cliff-dwelling Anasazi hundreds or even thousands of years ago, today Fredonia is a popular gateway to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, as well as a popular junction for visitors on their way to Zion and Bryce Canyon National Parks in Utah, which are just a few miles away. Well, at Fredonia, we turn right onto Highway 89A, which will quickly take us through some of the most beautiful scenery in the Arizona Strip. Now, while we've spent most of the last 30 miles traversing dusty, high desert terrain, the road becomes even more elevated as it enters the beautiful Kaibab National Forest. From Fredonia, at an elevation of 4,600 feet, U.S. Highway 89A eventually reaches a peak of nearly 9,000 feet as the scenery changes from dusty desert to majestic ponderosa pines on both sides of the highway. And in the wintertime, snow coats the hills and slopes surrounding the highway, giving a refreshing alpine feel to this route. If you're traveling in the summer, it'll be here near the highest point along the highway where you'll turn to head toward the north rim of the canyon. During wintertime, the north rim is closed. Well, over the course of the next 10 miles, the highway twists and turns around one switchback after another on its way back down into the desert. As soon as you reach the bottom and the road returns to being a straight, flat highway, you'll see some bright red rock formations to the east. These are the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument, nearly 300,000 acres of geologic wonders unspoiled by civilization to excite the senses. Be warned, though, that this is one of the most remote spots managed by the federal government, with no creature comforts. Poisonous reptiles, flash floods, extreme heat, and rugged terrain are just a few of the hazards you may encounter if you decide to hike through these cliffs. Now, the highway keeps on tracing the outermost edge around the Vermilion Cliffs, passing through the little town of Cliff Dwellers and Marble Canyon, really just wide spots in the road, not really towns. But when you arrive at Marble Canyon, which is basically an extension of the Grand Canyon, you'll be able to cross the Colorado River on its only bridge between here and Hoover Dam, 250 miles away. The historic bridge on which you cross the river is called Navajo Bridge. The new bridge on which vehicles cross was completed in 1995 and is a modern, wide bridge. If you want to get some pictures, parking is available adjacent to the bridge. Here you can walk across the old Navajo Bridge, which was completed in 1929. This is a spot where you can actually walk across Marble Canyon and look straight down 470 feet to the Colorado River, the powerful river that carved through millions of tons of rock over countless generations to form this canyon, as well as the Grand Canyon just a few miles away. Well, from Navajo Bridge, it's an easy, relatively flat 217 miles to the Four Corners Monument, or a slightly more elevated 123 miles to Flagstaff. Either way, you're sure to encounter plenty of treasures that few people ever see, right here in the most remote stretch of the Arizona Strip, with more than enough to discover along the way. I don't know about you, but the Arizona Strip sounds like a very unique place to visit, Dave.
Well, like I said before, I like steak, and I like my steaks medium well, with some mushrooms and gravy slathered on. I don't know how you like your steaks, but
that's how he likes his Arizona Strip.
That Arizona Strip steak sounded really good.
Okay, well, I think you're
I think it's at this time when you usually say, Dave, were you even listening?
I know you were listening, but it's
one ear was listening, the other one was paying attention to steaks.
Well, it's time to talk about what we've been doing for the last few weeks, because I know you've been doing some traveling, and I've been doing some traveling too, and so we're going to get our audience caught up on the things we've been up to for the last 4 or 5 weeks. But first of all, I have our trivia question for this week. I know.
Oh, joy.
A landslide in 2013 caused the complete destruction
Highway 95.
No. Nice try, though. A landslide in 2013 caused...
I'm just anticipating.
Okay. A landslide in 2013 caused the complete destruction of a major section of what highway in northern Arizona?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Could you read that again?
A landslide in 2013 caused the complete destruction of a major section of what highway in northern Arizona?
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening again. Could you reread that question?
No.
Okay, so a
Landslide
takes out a major section of
a pretty serious highway up there.
up in northern Arizona.
Yep.
In 2013.
And I was within a couple of miles of this landslide just a few days ago.
Okay, so this is one that somebody could probably Google and get the answer.
I'm sure they
if they
could.
do a little bit of
Yeah.
research and really get into it.
Right, they could.
What do they win?
They win a $5 Subway gift card. How about that? Well, as we have earlier mentioned, we've been off the air for a few weeks, and that's funny because some of our listeners would say that we're always
And that's why
off.
we're merchandising, because Jeremy has been gone spending all of our money at Road Trip Radio studio, and we need to generate some income.
Now, Dave,
So did you come back with some good merchandising ideas?
I did. A rearview mirror was one.
The rearview mirror, the one that has our faces emblazoned.
Emblazoned in
mirror.
the mirror, right. Now, Dave, I hear you did a little bit of travel yourself a few weeks ago to the tornado-ravaged town of Washington, Illinois. Now, tell us just a bit about what you saw up there.
Well, Washington, of course, is where I grew up, and they had an EF4 tornado go through there. So I went up. I have some family that still lives up there,
Right.
and of course, the area is pretty. The area where that tornado came through. My brother took me around to it, and you could see the path and the track that it had taken, and basically it's just devastation. Everything was, all the houses were completely destroyed.
Pretty much
But-
leveled.
Yeah, pretty much. But they had pushed all of the debris out to the curbs and stuff, and it still looked bad even with that. But it's like my brother said, it would, when you drive around that area, it's just eerie.
I imagine. So now, had you ever been to a place that had been devastated like that before?
I have never been to an area like that's been devastated, in that way with that sort of destruction from natural forces. I have been in the Road Trip Radio studio and felt like I've been devastated, but that's another situation. That's unnatural.
Right. Now, this was more of a natural disaster. Now, I know that just a few miles away from us in the town of Brookport, Illinois, they had something similar. I think the same day.
Yeah.
Same type of devastation.
Right, not too far from here, as you said, just 30 miles or so.
Right, 30 minutes away from where we're sitting. And I mean, our hearts go out to the people that are affected by that, and especially to those that lost everything. I did a little travel myself. I took a little time off and went on a road trip, and I was able to explore.
Okay, now, I'm having a little problem with that statement. You said a little time off. Don't you take a lot of time off from the radio show here? I mean, you're like
No.
gone all the time. I
mean,
turn around,
not at-
I look over in the host seat, and guess what? He's not there. It's like, well, what do I do? Oh, I'll just cobble together a whole bunch of stuff from past shows and put it on there like he's actually in the studio. But folks, he's never here. He's off on these trips all over the place.
I'm never here. You're never here.
And we never know what he's doing.
You're never here. I mean, I've had people. I've had the collections people call and asking for you, and they thought you were on the run for something. That you were gone for like 4 months from the show.
So something's going to have to change. One of us is going to have to be here, or we could actually go out on a limb and both of us could be here.
Well, I mean, the show can't go on autopilot every week. I mean,
It could.
it'd be a dead air. That's all we need is more dead air.
More dead air. Well, we could charge for that.
Well, we could charge people to listen to our show too, but I don't think they'd pay.
Yeah, people are a lot smarter than that.
Well, I spent some time recently exploring the Arizona Strip, which gave us some fuel for the fire that we know as our Along the Way segment for this week, just like you heard. And I'd have to say, of all the places I've been, the Arizona Strip is one of the most isolated but unique places in the country. I was fortunate enough to go when the weather was beautiful, the sun was out, even at the higher elevations.
Hey, I got news for you. The sun is always out. It doesn't just go away. It's always there.
You could see the sun.
Okay.
It wasn't cloudy. How about that?
Nothing like picking on Jeremy when he gets back from a trip.
But it was a good trip. I got to take
Yeah, what did you do up there anyway?
Oh, I did a little driving around and exploring and taking some pictures. I don't know if you saw my pictures, Dave, of Marble Canyon.
Well, I did see some pictures that you had in your what are those things called? Those iPads. I just figured you downloaded those off the internet.
No, I actually took those myself, believe it or not.
See, I sit here wondering, does this guy really go on these trips, or has he just got a really vivid imagination?
I mean, you saw the pictures on my phone I took here up at 9,000 feet, right?
I saw some pictures, but I have no proof that you took them.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to put them onto our Facebook page so our listeners can see for themselves.
Please don't.
Yeah, because by doing so, I would embarrass you and expose you as the liar that you are.
Dave, the co-host, liar.
Dave the liar.
The deceiver.
Well, the weather was beautiful.
Okay, go ahead.
There,
tell us about your fake trip out to Arizona.
My fake trip. The trip was very real. I drove the basic exact route that I just described it along the way.
You did. I thought you got that out of a book and just read it on the air.
I got it out of the book, which is my head.
Oh, the book that's in your head.
The book that's in my head.
The one that comes through your eyes when you actually experience these things. In a way, I guess what you're really saying is that all our listeners, if we don't get out to Arizona or here or there, and myself included, we can live vicariously through Jeremy Krug, the host of Road Trip Radio.
Well, you can all live vicariously through the show itself,
This is so true. In so many different ways.
That's why we say that if you can't be out on the road, the next best thing is Road Trip Radio.
Right. Be here, Road Trip Radio.
That's how we end every show. Well, this segment has been a bust, so let's go on to the next one. This Week in Travel. It's time to look at this week's travel headlines and current affairs from the road tripper's point of view. This Week in Travel. Well, Dave, did you hear about the lady that gave a company a bad online review and then got fined $3,500 by the company?
Why, yes, I did.
It was the Palmer family. You didn't, did you?
No, I didn't. No.
Let me tell you what happened. The Palmer family bought some products from a website called cleargear.com. I've never heard of this.
I've never heard of it either.
And they waited, and they waited, and they waited for weeks for their products to show up. After 30 days, nothing arrived, and PayPal canceled the payment. Well, the Palmer family were not very happy, so they went online and gave the company a bad review, saying they, quote, had horrible customer service. Well, when the folks from the customer service department at cleargear.com finally woke up and figured out what was going on, they decided to fine the Palmer family $3,500.
I see a plan developing here, something maybe we could institute here at Road Trip Radio.
I don't know about that. But the people at this website said that their terms and conditions had a non-disparagement clause, and anyone who dared speak ill of the company, even if it's true, would be fined.
Okay, so what you're saying then is you're going to start fining me for all the ill things I've said about Road Trip Radio?
Now, that's a good idea, but I'm not going to do that because I actually have integrity. You see,
Could you spell that?
The people at cleargear.com said that if the fine wasn't paid, it would be turned over to collections, and the Palmer's credit score would be dinged.
Oh, well.
I guess I won't be buying anything from them. Like I said, I've never heard of Cleargear until this story, and now I know why.
Yeah, and why is that?
Well, they sell, I did go onto their website, and they sell some pretty odd products, such as LED shoelaces.
Okay, got a little confession to make. We're going to be getting a gross of those in about 2 weeks.
They also sell zombie T-shirts. So don't tell me that we're getting a gross of those, too.
No zombie T-shirts.
They also sell a flash drive that looks like a Derringer.
We're not getting any of those either, but you better figure out something to do with those LCD shoelaces. Was that right?
Something like that. LED.
LED.
Yeah.
Why do I keep saying LCD?
I don't know. There's a big difference there.
There's a huge difference there.
What concerns me is people travel, they go places. What would you think if you went to a hotel and you stayed there, you had a bad experience, and you posted it onto TripAdvisor or somewhere, and then the hotel comes back and fines you $3,000 because you gave them a bad review?
It's very simple. I would go to my phone and I would dial the Road Trip Radio number and talk to Jeremy Krug and Dave Godar about that problem.
Well, you heard it, folks. If this has happened to you, or if you are concerned about this, give us a call at 646-915-8095, and we'll be happy to take your call. Oh, speaking of which, we actually have a call on the line right now. Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, this is customer service at .com. Did you just mention our website on your show?
Yes, I did. We had a little news report about it.
And did you mention our website in somewhat of a disparaging way?
Well, we were just reporting the news, so I guess you could say that.
Well, that's all I need. I'm fining you $3,500. Make a check payable to our company. Needs to be paid within 30 days.
What? We don't have that kind of money, and I'm not paying a dime to you guys.
Look here. How dare you say anything negative about our company? End of story.
How dare me? You're the one who's around trying to fine your customers money for telling the truth about how you don't send them their products when they pay for them.
We have a very strict policy. Absolutely no negative statements are allowed to be made about our wonderful company.
Well, you're not that wonderful if you fine your customers.
Anyone that says a negative word about our company has to pay a fine of $3,500 that go directly into our coffers.
Now, come on. Why would you do something like this? And why would you come up with such a stupid idea?
Mainly because our merchandise appeals to so few people, we have to raise money and funds and revenue by fining our customers.
All right, but I'm not a customer.
I know you're not a customer, but we don't really care. We're still going to fine you anyway.
I'm calling my attorney.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
By the way, that was not a real call.
No, it was not a real call, but
that was Alan Levy.
It does kind of make you a little bit nervous.
Yeah. Well, there's some travel laws that are taking effect this year, January 1st, 2014. In Illinois, the speed limit on interstates rises to 70 miles per hour, and all cell phones must be hands-free.
And you know exactly what I'm going to say about the speed limit going up to 70. You remember that show we had about the speed limit going up in Illinois, and the governor you said?
Signed the bill within minutes of our show talking about speed limits, and so he must have been listening to our show.
Right.
He signed the bill. You know?
Uh-huh. You know what they call that in the psychology? If you pick up a psychology book and look through it, it's called delusions of grandeur.
That's it. You know, I read your mind when you said that. I knew you were going to say that. Here's one that's kind of interesting. In Oregon, starting January 1st, here a few days ago, no smoking in cars is allowed if children are present in the car.
I think that's a fantastic rule.
There
should be no smoking when children are around, period.
You know, in California, cars must now stay at least 3 feet away from bicycles when they're on the road. When passing or overtaking a bicycle, cars are not allowed to get too close, and if they do, they can be fined $35.
$35.
$35.
What do you think
even
about that?
Even if there's no collision. You know, I kind of get the intent here, but what if a bicycle doesn't want the car close and they veer over? I mean, could a bicycle run the car off the road, basically?
Does it basically sound to you like one of those laws that's going to be more complicated than they thought it would be?
I think so. I mean, they've got good intentions, but you know what they say about good intentions?
No. Go ahead and tell me. What do they say about good intentions? Do you have a Road Trip Radio host of Road Trip Radio?
Well, there's something about the law of unintended consequences, shall we say.
Okay.
Well, in my next story here, this is interesting. A blind man gets kicked off a plane when his seeing eye dog sits the wrong way on a U.S. Airways flight.
Okay.
Albert Rizzi is blind, and he has a seeing eye dog. When he boarded a U.S. Airways flight back in November, just a few days after our last show of the season, the dog was lying behind Albert's feet instead of in front of his feet. And the flight attendant told him that the dog had to sit in front of his feet instead. Well, as the plane was taxiing to the runway, the flight attendant told Albert that he had exactly 1 minute to rectify the situation. When he was unable to stuff his 80-pound dog under the seat in front of him, the pilot turned around, went back to the terminal, and Mr. Rizzi was thrown off the plane along with his seeing eye dog to fend for themselves.
That's one of those stories you kind of get the impression that there's a lot more to that story than meets the eye.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. When other passengers protested and stuck up for the blind man, they too were thrown off the flight.
Okay, so now it's getting
a little bit
plot,
more complicated.
What do they say? The plot
thickens. Well, eventually the flight was just canceled, and all the passengers were told to take a bus instead.
And I know exactly what you're going to say about that, aren't you?
Well, go ahead. Tell me what I'm going to say.
Well, that buses to you are like the cruise ships
of the road.
Of the road.
Well, not exactly, but I mean, taking a Greyhound bus is not any less comfortable than taking most flights these days, it seems. But that's how it is.
Well, you know what my idea was from way back. I can't even remember what show it was that we did. What did I say about airlines and airplanes? Remember?
I have no idea. I don't remember that far back.
I said we don't need them.
We just drive everywhere.
Exactly. Just get rid of the airplanes and airlines anyway.
That's why this is Road Trip Radio.
Exactly.
We are advancing the interests of the driver.
You got it. Also the interest of
the oil companies.
And the interest of Road Trip Radio.
Yeah, that's
See,
correct.
we're not airplane radio.
That's true. We're not in the oil company's back pocket either.
Well, not yet.
Of course, that's because we haven't had a sponsor. I told you about the Virgin River Gorge and that beautiful scenery that you see as you drive through there back in our Along the Way segment. Well, guess what?
I listened to every word.
Well, guess what? Traffic was shut down in the Virgin River Gorge due to snow and ice.
Something that many of our listeners would like to see happen to Road Trip Radio. Shut that thing down. So anyway, you've got a road that's shut down because of the
snow and
conditions
ice.
up there.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting turn of events because, that area in Arizona really doesn't get that much snow. Southern Utah, northwest Arizona there. It all started when a Chevy pickup truck slid on the ice at midnight there on the evening of December 8th and went down into the median. It fell 8 feet down into the embankment. Kind of scary. Well, people stopped to help the people in the accident that were in that truck. Well, when this was happening, an 18-wheeler semi slammed on the brakes and jackknifed. And at that moment, traffic backed up. And just as the traffic was backing up, this snowstorm, a very fast-moving snowstorm, passed through and dropped 10 inches of snow on the ground there, and so the snow plows could not get through.
And now you know why I don't go anywhere.
Well, guess what happened? Several people ended up having to spend the night in their frigid cars. Emergency workers tried to bring them food and water and tried to evacuate as many as they could one by one. And to make it worse, guess what? No cell service in that part of the gorge.
Okay, so that sounds about right.
So you're stuck in your car, and you can't even listen to Road Trip Radio.
I hadn't even thought about that. That would be miserable up there.
Well, there were some reports.
Which tells us what? You need to download our show
before you drive through Virgin River Gorge.
Right. Don't try to catch it when it's scheduled to come on Blog Talk Radio, which is Saturdays at
8 Central, 9 Eastern.
Right. And you might want to do that, or you might want to just download it. And then when you're stuck in a snowstorm, in northern Arizona, with all this going on, guess what you've got there? You've got two friends to keep you warm, right?
As your cell phone battery runs down.
Exactly. As your cell phone battery and your iPad and that starts to run down, you've got us there. We're going to get you through that.
Those poor people are listening to us thinking, how dare these two buffoons make light of our situation.
As they're sitting in their cars and it's getting so cold that they're starting to fall asleep to the sounds of Road Trip Radio. Oh, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to download a lot of episodes because the original accident was at midnight on the 8th. And I read some reports of people that were stuck out there for 13 hours.
13 hours, right.
13 hours in that frigid snow. Wow. Well, folks, that's been This Week in Travel. An extended version, I guess you could say.
I'd say so.
A very, very extended
Very
version.
extended version of This Week in Travel. What do we got coming up next, Jay?
I've got the Travel Archive, and I'm going to open up the Travel Archive. Let me see what I've got in here. I've got a commercial for Ingram Gasoline.
Never heard of it.
Well, you're going to now.
98. It's here now. New 98 Super Premium at the red, white, and blue Ingram sign. Power plus economy at your friendly Ingram oil dealers now. Here's a man that really appreciates that new Ingram power.
Take a tip from me, Carlin Hill up the Chicago Bears. I'm a professional plastic saver, and the red, white, and blue Ingram disc is the best catch I ever made. You can get Ingram's new 98 Super Premium gasoline at your friendly Ingram dealers today. This is another forward step by Ingram, a company that is producing for the present and planning for the future. Remember, you get power plus economy when you fill your car with Ingram's new 98 Super Premium. Watch for the Ingram sign.
Get more gold for your dough with Ingram's new 98 Super Premium at the white Ingram pump with the red top. Get Ingram 98 Platinum Treated Gasoline at these friendly Ingram dealers.
We're back. We're back. We're back. Well, Dave, what'd you think about my intro?
I thought, those old commercials when they did that attention-getting type thing was very commonplace, and I liked the way that you imitated it.
Well, thank you. I had a little help from my folks in the sound booth over there.
Hey, how's it going?
Yep, they're waving at us.
How much do we pay those guys anyway over there?
Too much.
Way too much.
98 octane.
Yeah. The highest I've ever heard of is like 93 when you go to the gas pump. So what's the deal with octane, and why would 98 be way beyond what we need?
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm a chemistry teacher, and I deal with some of those hydrocarbons in my field of work. Octane is basically just a hydrocarbon, C8H18. It allows gasoline to burn richer. It allows it to burn more purely, I suppose you could say. But the problem is octane generally just reduces spark knock in gasoline for the most part. And beyond about 93, most vehicles are not going to find any difference whatsoever. So 98 may be a little overkill, although it sounds nice in a commercial.
Yeah, it does sound nice. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
You've been a chemistry teacher for several years now, haven't you?
14 years.
14 years over here in Western Kentucky. Now you've taught at several high schools.
Yeah.
And you're over here at I don't know if we should say the name of the high school or not.
It's okay. It's okay to say it. Graves County High School in Mayfield, Kentucky. Yeah.
In Mayfield, Kentucky.
Yeah.
So thanks for the chemistry lesson. We appreciate it.
You are welcome, Dave. Well, now it's time to go on to our next part of our travel archive. I thought it'd be nice to kick off our first Saturday morning show with an ad for another popular radio show that aired on Saturdays. Now, do you know what that might be, Dave?
Back when I was alive. And
back when you were alive?
Back when wait a minute, I'm alive. I'm alive right now.
Are you dead?
Back when I was a little kid. Or was it? When was that? I guess we're talking about the commercial coming up, and I mentioned it in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, do you know what it might be?
It's Hopalong Cassidy.
It is Hopalong Cassidy. Very good guess there.
I think I'm going to do a little Googling while that ad plays.
Okay. Well, hurry up, because it's a short ad.
Most Saturdays at this time, we spend an exciting half hour of adventure and action with America's public hero #1, Hopalong Cassidy. Well, even two-fisted cowboys take summer vacations when they can, and Hoppy is no exception. Hopalong and Topper will be back with us riding the CBS air trails again September 22nd.
Nice radio ad there, Dave.
It is a nice radio ad.
But you know what? I'd like to make it even better.
How are you going to do that?
Well, guess what I've done?
I have not a clue, and I'm a little bit afraid.
I have modernized that commercial to make it more appropriate for our show.
Okay.
Most Saturdays at this time, we spend an exciting hour of adventure and action with America's public hero #1,
Road Trip Radio.
Well, even two-fisted cowboys take summer vacations when they can, and
RTR
is no exception.
Jeremy,
And
Dave,
Topper will be back with us riding the
Blog Talk Radio.
air trails again.
Now, isn't that like 10 times better, Dave?
yeah, okay, 10 times better. Yeah, that's definitely 10 times better. Hey, there's some stuff about Hopalong Cassidy.
Okay.
His radio show was on from 50 to 52, and did you know, are you ready? Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
That Hopalong Cassidy was featured on the first lunchbox to bear an image.
Really?
First lunchbox. See, Googling does help.
Yeah.
Does
Radio
help bring up some stuff here.
radio merchandising.
Yeah, they had a lot of merchandising endorsement deals with the Hopalong Cassidy. Children's dinnerware, pillows, soap,
Maybe we could have
wristwatches.
our own Road Trip Radio soap.
Oh, I can see I can see the gears are moving in this guy's head.
Because people will want to wash their ears out after they listen to our show.
Are you sure you didn't have a little of that 98 octane before the show?
Something like that. Well, we're going to take a few calls right now, so we're going to sit back and wait for your phone calls. Well, Dave, I don't think we're getting any calls.
Were those crickets?
I believe they were, and I thought I had called the exterminator, but...
So, do we employ those? Are they employed here at Road Trip Radio Studio for that sound effect?
We're going to have to put them on the payroll, evidently.
I think that says something here. We need some callers calling in.
We're going to have to get some callers.
So what's the number they need to call?
The number that they need to call is 646-915-8095.
And what's that going to happen? What's going to happen when they do that? Are they going to get billed?
Like $3 a minute? No.
Yeah, $3 a minute.
Our friendly call screener will pick up and talk to them, and then they'll get to talk to us live on the air.
And when's that going to be exactly? Well, live on the air.
It could have been right now, but it's going to be 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. And adjust your time accordingly for the other minor times.
And what day is that?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. And it'll be live where they can call in and talk to the host of Road Trip Radio.
Now, if you can't listen to us live,
and
you can
dress him down good.
Right. You can also call us at 646. It's 650-27 Drive. If you can't call us live, and record a message or a call, and we'll play that on the air too.
So it's like calling an answering machine.
Yeah, calling an answering machine. 650-27.
How much time do they have to do that?
Up to 3 minutes.
Up to 3 minute recording. And what do we want them to say?
Travel stories, travel tips,
travel jokes.
Travel jokes.
As long as they're clean. As long as they're clean, because we're a family show.
It's a family show, right? Well, guess what? One of my favorite parts of the show.
The ending. We're done?
On the lighter side.
Oh, okay. I thought we were finished. That's one of my favorite parts.
We're not even close.
Not even close. I'm going to have to pour another cup of coffee into the RTR coffee mug.
It's time for On the Lighter Side, where the hosts of Road Trip Radio take a stab at their version of comedy and old-time radio.
Hello, caller. You're live on the second season premiere of Road Trip Radio.
Yeah, am I on the air?
Definitely. Your voice is going out to possibly tens of listeners, even as we speak. Who do I have on the line?
I'm Logan Stillwater in Concord, New Hampshire, and I want to talk to you people about the Road Trip Radio themed merchandise I bought off your website.
Oh, yes. We've started offering some fabulous products, and I'm glad you chose to be, shall we say, an early adopter.
Well, I bought your Road Trip Radio commemorative oil dipstick, and when it arrived, I realized it's a one-size-fits-all. The dipstick isn't even long enough to reach my oil pan.
Have you thought about just adding more oil until it hits the dipstick?
Are you serious? I could tear up my engine and blow my valves. Whose idea was it to make an oil dipstick out of cardboard?
Oh, that was my idea. We had some extra corrugated cardboard laying around the studio, so Dave and I just cut them into strips and decided to sell them.
It's a piece of junk! I can't believe I paid $39 for this useless strip of cardboard.
Sir, please calm down. You're scaring our listeners.
I need to tell you about the Road Trip Radio Special Edition rear view mirror you sold me.
Ah, yes, the rear view mirror, one of our most popular items.
I installed it, and once I got driving down the highway, I kept turning around. I thought I was being carjacked because I kept seeing these two dope-looking guys in my back seat. Then I realized that your images had been emblazoned in the glass of the rear view mirror. You two dopes made me run off the road.
Dave thought it was a good idea at the time. Never ride alone.
Well, it was a bad idea. And I'd love to wring your necks for selling me the Road Trip Radio limited edition coffee mug. I paid $20 for that thing. Then it arrives and it's made out of the cheapest plastic I think I've ever seen. Your low-grade plastic coffee mug leached PCBs into the coffee and made it taste even worse than it already was.
Oh, PCBs, you say? I'll have to alert our quality control experts over in Zhejiang province of China.
That figures. Oh, and how can I forget? I paid close to $9 a pound for your Road Trip Radio Special Roast number 82 coffee, and it tasted like someone had filtered it through a dirty sock.
Might I suggest washing your socks before using them as a coffee filter, Logan?
It was the coffee, you stupid loon. What was in that stuff? It was the worst low-grade swill I've ever had.
Well, Dave found a 20-pound bag of perfectly aged pinto beans, and we thought it would make a great substitute for coffee, so we ground them up.
Ground up pinto beans? That's what the special roast was? Your so-called coffee gave me the runs. I'll be reporting you to the CEO of Long Talk Radio, Mr. Alan Levy himself.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks, we're out of time. And Logan, you're starting to break up. So sad that we couldn't entertain more of your antics. Well, better luck next time. Dave, what are you doing?
Grinding up some pinto beans for some Road Trip Radio coffee.
Special blend number 82?
Special blend number 82. Got to get that out there to the listeners.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite you to purchase some of our special blend number 82 laxative that Dave has been grinding up here.
Apparently, it's one of those products that can be used for multiple
uses.
Multiple use product.
Well, folks, we have come to the end of the first show of our second season, our 43rd episode, and Dave and I hope you enjoyed our show this week. Oh, and Dave, I'm sure that you're sitting in your seat wondering with anticipation what the answer to our trivia question was. The highway that was closed back in the spring because of a rock slide was US 89 near Page, Arizona. Don't forget to keep calling in with stories from the road at 650-27 Drive, and call in next week live, 646-915-8095, where we're going to have another hour of excitement and travel fun, road tripping. It's going to be another great hour. Please visit us online at roadtripradioUSA.com.
Oh, joy.
It's a great website, isn't it, Dave?
I can't wait to get started on next week's show.
Me neither. You can like us on Facebook. You can download this and all of our other shows on iTunes or on the Blog Talk Radio Network or right there on roadtripradioUSA.com. If you'd have an idea for an upcoming show or just want to talk to us, drop us a line at roadtripradioUSA@gmail.com. Until next time, everybody, this is Jeremy Krug.
And Dave Godar.
Be safe, and remember, the open road will be waiting for you. And if you can't be out there, then the next best thing is Road Trip Radio.